probably some other guys from the league that nobody cares about.
Circle of Jerks podcast by Rochester Flood Operating. Jeremy just opened a fake can. This is the preview edition.
That's Conco's car starting.
His car starts. Sometimes.
You gotta push it.
Yeah.
You gotta push start it.
Yeah, they gotta get a running start. This is the preview edition of the second week of the playoffs. And so we're going to go through the 2 games now. So hopefully this is a shorter podcast, unlike our recap edition, but I wouldn't count on
3 hours.
Wait, there's no preview for the Scrub Cup?
So the Scrub Cup.
That's not the Scrub Cup
Yeah,
yet.
well, that's right. We know our goals for the Scrub Cup. So.
Well, it's a pickup. Scrub Cup's not till
next week.
2 weeks.
Oh, that's right.
2 weeks, yeah.
All right, so yeah, we don't have the full rosters for the Scrub Cup yet. So for pickup, we did do a preview for the
Preview for
game.
pickup. Let's go.
Oh, man.
I mean, if you think about it, the analysis probably wouldn't be any worse than the normal analysis we do on any of these freaking games.
Well, we do have 2 goaltenders in the pickup game.
We do, that's right, yeah.
Alex
and Steve. Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah, Steve Scott. So let's, we've got 2 games, and before we get to those, let's do a quick recap on where we are in our picks. I'm sad to say I got a little full of myself, and I've been gloating a little bit too much, and Pitar has overtaken me in the overall standings. Oh, and I probably should say who the hell's here. This is the Bob next to Pitar, next to Raging Bonet, next to the Silent Assassin.
I can't do it.
Jeremy just tried to do the Kurt.
My mouth doesn't do that.
That's why Kurt's
Sponsored by that. We got the Silent Assassin,
But
Brett.
she said I've never done this before. And she's a fucking liar.
So, we didn't beat the record from the last podcast about how quick before the inappropriate comment was made, but you still were, if you had the under for 2 minutes, then you won on the over under 2 minutes for that kind of a comment. You got Damn It Kevin, Kevin Parker, and V-Hot Conco.
Gianni sucks.
So Pitar is in the lead right now, 29 of 40, 73% on the season. 1 game ahead of me, 28 for 40 at 70%. Third place right now is still Cannonball Kerr, a few games back at 24 of 40 at 60%. Our guests collectively are 20 for 36 at 56%, just a hair above Conco. Oh God, I can't believe I said about that one. 21 of 40 at 53%. John Chattergoon, 16 of 36 at 44%. And the Bonet.
Right where he wants him.
Yeah, right where he wants to be. 15 of 40 at 38%. Not helped at all by going over.
How many times has that been this season? I think like 3.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
3 times.
Yeah, 3 times he's gone over.
It's like golf, right?
Yeah, there you go. It's Turkey.
Low score?
Yeah, low score wins. That's what Wu-Tang Clan thought last week. But Pitar goes 3 for 4 last week, only getting Run DMC wrong. I went 2 for 4 picking Sugar Hill and Wu-Tang wrong. Conco went 2 for 4 picking, 3 for 4, I'm sorry, only picking Wu-Tang wrong. Cannonball goes 2 for 4 picking Wu-Tang and Run DMC wrong. Chattergoon goes 1 for 4, shorter the list of games he picked right at WA. And the games, as we already said, that Jeremy picked right were as many as we saw on everyone's stat sheet. Empty. So there you go. So we will do 2 games. 7:30 Roots at A Tribe Called Quest, and 8:30 Furious 5 at NWA. So let's start chronologically, shall we? The Roots at A Tribe Called Quest, 7:30. In week 1, the Roots lost to A Tribe Called Quest 11-12, but the Roots were missing Handy, and A Tribe Called Quest was missing Jeff Burge. And spoiler alert, A Tribe Called Quest is going to be missing Jeff Burge again, so he will never have played the Roots this season.
Just rumors.
Just rumors.
We're starting a GoFundMe page. He's going to get back to some time. It's going to be great.
So Adam Schefter is reporting that Jeff Burge will be missing, but that is not confirmed yet. So Pete, Brett, you guys are playing in this game, so maybe you guys can hold your Pete's just making a terrible
I
face.
put Sunkist in my beer.
Why the hell did you do that?
Well, because I like beer and I like Sunkist, so I thought they would go good together.
And by the way, that's how most captains go wrong on draft day. Well, I like this guy, I like that guy. I thought they go with
Well,
it.
I thought they taste well together.
Yikes.
Oh boy.
Not to mention that I heard that Jeff wasn't going to be there from Kurt, so it's more Adam Schafter.
Oh no.
Give you're brilliant.
Alright, so the Sunkist beer guy and Brett will try to go at the end here. So I'll start out with a few
He's
more.
still drinking it.
He's still drinking it. I don't know what he's doing, but
I like beer.
and
And
Sunkist.
Sunkist. Not
At the
together.
same time.
So in week 1, which was a long time ago, the Roots lost 11-12, which was the second fewest goals that the Roots have scored all season long. So, they're scoring a lot more than 11. But A Tribe Called Quest allowed 11, which was the most goals that they've allowed all season long, before the playoffs. And it's only twice that they've allowed double digits at all. So this is, again, a long time ago, but we're talking about the highest scoring team in the league, the Roots, playing against the team with the best defense and goaltending, the fewest goals allowed team in A Tribe Called Quest. Different, interesting matchup here. Very, very different styles. And to me, it's going to be, can Kenton keep it up? He had a great week last week, as we all talked about, except for me, because I like to crap on every goalie. But he had a good week. Can he keep it up? Yeah, well, that's a hot Congo. Maybe a hot post now. I'm not sure. So what do you guys think? What do you think, Brad? What do you think, Kevin? Jeremy? Anyone?
Which one?
All three at once.
All three, in harmony.
It's like Sunkist and beer.
I think for A Tribe Called Quest, I think the loss of Jeff Bird is going to impact them greatly. I mean, the Roots.
One still without.
Oh shit.
And he wasn't there last
He's
time.
taking the Jeremy Bammer approach,
So-
where he's rebuttaling after every comment.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long podcast.
And maybe this is, because my team, Superhero Gang, lost to A Tribe Called Quest last week.
Strategy.
But
Doesn't work.
I would pick, based off the way the Roots played Wu-Tang last week, I'm going with the Roots again here. And, with Andy being there, I think that helps them. I think the loss of Jeff is just too huge. I mean, I've played with Jeff before. He's an awesome player, never stops, plays great defense, can score. I sort of question a little bit whether A Tribe Called Quest can keep that up without Jeff, their second round pick there. So,
Jeremy?
I'm going to let Brett go because I hate being interrupted.
Oh, I shouldn't have
I'm going
asked.
last.
Yeah, I shouldn't have asked Brett. I forgot he was in the game. So it's Jeremy or Conco. So Conco, why
I'll
don't you
go.
go? Because Jeremy keeps being
I
interrupted.
kind of agree with what Kevin had to say with Jeff being wherever he's going to be.
Just so you know, we won last time without him.
Okay.
again, Andy wasn't there.
Ooh.
Ooh.
These two are getting a little
Ooh.
feisty.
It's
So,
almost like one of them beat
Brett,
the other
I think
one.
you're going to get peppered with shots. I think he's up for the task, but I think it's just going to be kind of tough to make up for Jeff's loss on offense because Kevin's going to,
I think if
Kenton,
you look though,
And I count those.
Strachan and Kuzma have been putting up big games too.
But who knows what
Jeff's
Jeff's
really
status
only
of
puts
hot
a
tacos
couple
is
goals,
gonna
and
be.
no offense to his offense, he contributes a lot, but
do you see Kenton's gloves?
yeah, I saw him on the net.
See him on the bench after the game?
Oh,
He's
shit.
going to be covered in an extra layer of powdered
I
sugar,
guess
so
it's
every
gonna
puck
happen.
is going to stick to him like glue.
I'd like to see if that's legal actually. So we should look into that.
Oh no, Brett's gonna pop the rule book.
So who do you have, Conor?
Jeff Burge is going to be gone. His roots are going
Oh,
to
is
be
it? You haven't mentioned that yet.
his roots are going to be down in Myrtle Beach or wherever he is. So I'm picking the roots.
Alright. Jer Bear?
Jer Bear.
Careful what you say, Brett's on your left.
That's true.
Remember,
That's
they
not
beat,
his
us,
fault
they beat
side.
us last week.
That's his stick side.
So, a lot of the teams that go into it, I feel like it's our fault as a podcast, where we said that the Wu-Tang Clan beat the Roots because they out-tribed the Tribe. And again, I'm talking about the Tribe. Wu-Tang beat the Tribe, and we said that they out-tribed the Tribe. So teams think, oh, that's the blueprint. We got to play the Tribe exactly how the Tribe plays, and we'll do it better, and that's how we're going to beat them. And that's not how you're going to fucking beat them. Especially if you're the Roots. That's not how you're going to beat them.
No.
The Roots have to
Roots
do...
can't play that style. They're physically unable to.
The Roots have to do the exact opposite. The Roots have to play the Roots game. They have to turn this game into a shootout because that's their only chance of winning.
Yeah.
With that being said, if that happens, I don't think that the Tribe has the firepower to compete with the firepower from the Roots. Granted, the Roots have a tall order of scoring against the defense of the Tribe that's going to be there. However, they have a plus with, you know, the top defender of that team, Jeff Burge, not being there, opens up the door for them to kind of do that a little bit better than they would if he was there. If they can do that, which I think that they might be able to, especially doing that against Wu-Tang Clan last week, I think that the Roots take that game.
So, you picking the Roots?
I'm going Roots.
Go Roots. P-Tar?
Wow, we win one game and everyone's fucking excited about us. This is great.
Don't worry, I'll tone it down for you.
I'm about to do my pick.
Do you remember the Sugar No picks last week?
Yeah, it worked out.
Yes. So, alright, so I talked about, you know, second fewest, most goals allowed, different styles, blah, blah, blah. We've all talked about how Jeff's not going to be there, and the biggest...
Wait, Jeff's not going to be there?
Yeah, Jeff's not going to be there. The biggest impact on that is his defense. But it's not like nobody else in the Tribe Called Quest knows how to play defense. I mean,
And
Mike
they all-
Milano was also a nominee for Defenseman of the Season. And Kurt loves to throw his body around and, you know, clear up pucks.
And then he comes and plays hockey.
Kuzinow and Strachan both, if they're in the right spot, can clear out the puck. You know, Andy is such a huge factor. I want to give it to the Roots because I think the Andy factor is the difference. But listening to you guys talk, I'm actually changing my mind. I'm changing my mind and going to a Tribe Called Quest because I think that if it becomes a shootout, sure, the Roots will win. If it's a shootout, if it's above 13 goals per team, the Roots are going to win. But I don't think it gets there because we're still talking about the goalie of the year. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to deny the fact that Brett's going to win goalie of the season. We're still talking about the best defensive team in the league, and even losing your number one guy, they still have strong defense around him. And they're gonna be able to put some goals past your defense and past Kenton. And if you guys are focusing too much on defense, and even if Kenton has the week he had last week, that means you're not focusing enough on offense, and you're not going to get past Brett. So I'm going to try.
What's defense? It's defense that you guys are talking about. Well, thanks, guys.
I think it's defense. I think it's French.
If you watch us play, you'll see that.
Oh, I have been watching you guys play. Captain of the year, MVP, goaltender of the year. I've said this time and time again.
Not defenseman?
Well, I'm not talking about anyone else but Brad right now. So,
So yes, defenseman.
yeah. So defenseman. So, yes, Jeff is a tough loss, but we did lose without him. And even with Andy there, I don't think we would have won that first game. I don't think we were a good enough team in week one. I mean, you're talking about during the regular season, the Roots let in 144 goals against. To a Tribe Called Quest, oh, I'm really excited about this. To a Tribe Called Quest, 73, literally half. I mean, we're talking half the amount of goals. I mean, it's incredible what a Tribe Called
It's
Quest.
ridiculous. Like if you really stop and think about it,
That's a lot.
that it's not one game or two games we're talking about. The entire season, double.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot of freaking defense. These guys are incredible. Great team. You know, it's funny. Gianni came up to me after the game last night and he said, "How many times do you pick your team to win this year?" And I was like, "I picked my team 3 times." And he goes, "How many times do you win?" I said, 2 out of 3. I lost the Furious 5 game. And he goes, "Pick your team." So I'm picking my team. I'm picking my boys.
That's a touching story.
Yeah, I know. I'm picking my team. I liked the way we played. If Burge was there, I think I'd still be a coin flip for me. It's going to be a very difficult game. We need to put pucks on net and we need to put them behind Brett because it's not going to be an easy game. This team is the number 1 team in the league and we need to play them like they are, or else we're not going to win this one.
Before Brett goes, if Burge was there, that would change my decision because I think he has that much of an impact on this game. So.
Well,
All right.
All right, next game.
No, I kind of rebutted everyone and said, like, we didn't have Burge, but I think you can almost throw out that first game. I think our team is better.
It's week 1. It's a long.
Yeah, I think our team is better, plays better now. I think the Roots, watching them last night, played better. Kenton had a really good game. Now saying that, I think you've watched every week and we've had different guys step up. And I think our team is deep enough, and like Bob said, we have enough good defensive players that I think we can make up for Jeff. It's going to be difficult. I think, like everyone said, if it gets into just kind of a shootout and I'm seeing a lot of pucks, that makes it more difficult. But I mean,
You can't block just one player on your team because everyone else does.
yeah, I'm Furlano. He's a bull. Like everyone said, he possesses the puck so well. Strachan possesses really well. Kurt makes good plays.
You know, he's a bull.
We haven't had Pat. I don't know if you guys know, Pat's moving. So this will be his last season. He's been
Let's
out.
not win, huh?
Yeah, he said that. He said he wants us to win the championship for him.
We should buy him some tacos to like celebrate.
I get it.
Next Tuesday?
No, but him being out the past couple weeks, I think he's really, really hungry to prove that he's a. I know. He's ready to make an impact, and I think he's going to do it this week. And I think Pat will be the difference, and I think we'll score more goals.
Pat
Yeah,
had
that's
4
it.
goals against us in the
Yeah.
first game, and that's. But we need Kenton to be just as good as
Yeah.
he was last week to have a shot. I mean, that it really is going to come down to. I mean, granted, we played better defense in front, so our defense has to step up. But if Kenton doesn't play the same as he did last week, we're going to have a tough week. But it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a shootout.
Well,
I'm
I
really
don't know
looking
if it is
forward
though.
to it.
You keep saying it's gonna be a shootout, so maybe we have different definitions of the word shootout. If it's like a track meet where goals are going in,
Yeah.
then I think the Brewers win. But if it's just a shootout in terms of like a lot of shots on net, sure, it's gonna happen, but Brett's gonna stop a lot of that.
Well, it's kind of like Gaffey's definition of unsung hero. So.
Yeah, so Gaffney's definition being like he's gonna sing the already sung heroes.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yes. Nailed it.
But Brett, it's an interesting point about Pat though, because we keep talking about Andy, the Andy factor, and in the recap edition, he was my star of the week and a few
He was good.
stars of the week, and I wanted to pick the Roots because I thought that Andy would be the difference. But we're forgetting about Pat, like, cause Pat is like probably out of anyone on the Tribe Called Quest that we don't talk about enough. It's Pat, and
He's
did
had a
that
really
well.
solid season.
Yeah.
Plays smart defense. He's good with the puck, and he's got that long reach. So.
Alright, so just a quick recap. We've got 5 people picking the Roots, 4 of your regulars and Kevin, and we've got 2 or 3 people picking A Tribe Called Quest. 2 of your regulars, myself and Kurt. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say the people that weren't here. So Cannonball Kurt picks A Tribe Called Quest. John Chattergoon picks the Roots. So again, 5 people picking the Roots: Pete, Jared Bear, Conco, Chatterton, and Kevin. 3 people, A Tribe Called Quest: Brett, myself, and Kurt. So 2 guys that are on Tribe Called Quest and me. All right, so 8:30 game, Furious 5 at NWA. In week 2, NWA won 10-8, and both teams had their full teams. So, Conco, you're playing in this game, and I don't think anyone else here is in that game. So, we'll try to keep,
Who won that game week 8?
the Sugar Hill, in week 8, NWA.
Sugar Hill didn't win.
Wasn't it week 2?
We might
It
have
was
won
week
week
8.
8.
Why did you
Week
say
2.
week 8?
I think week 8 we did win, actually.
Well, no, because it was 10-8.
So
It was
week
10-8.
10-8.
Week 2,
So
10-8.
NWA won
10-8.
10-8, both teams at full teams. So the first question, of course, for me is, are we getting post, are we getting Conco? We're already not going to give an answer because he said Sturgis. He's giving the, I don't know, signal over there.
But I mean, this team is completely different. I'm talking about Furious 5. I think NWA has played pretty consistent the way they've been all season long. They've had some highs, they've had some lows, but when they're a full team, they've played the same pretty much the entire way.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all because they haven't played the same. They lost 3 of their last 4 heading into the playoffs. I mean, they played maybe the same style-ish, but they've had some high games, they've had some low games. Their last 4 games, they dropped 3 of them. I didn't think they were going to hold on to the 3 seed overall. And I don't know. I think this is the least consistent team in the entire league.
No. Public Enemy's been way
Okay.
more inconsistent
Okay.
there. But I mean, the guys that they're playing though, is a Tribe Called Quest, and then a Tribe Called Quest, and then they played Run DMC, who was on their run, and the same thing with Public Enemy. They had a late overtime. So, but full strength, this team has been the same pretty much all season long. They've had their wins, they've had their losses. Without Mike Bryant there, they got blown out, and that was the only real disappointing game for the year for them. But they have a full team, right? Both teams are full strength.
I hope so.
Yeah. I talked to Paul. There was a rumor going around that Paul might not be there, but Paul is going to be there. Both teams are going to be at full strength.
He dislocated his penis, right?
Yes, he dislocated the P word. Speaking of
his pubes too.
speaking of the P's or whatever we're talking about.
I don't know where we're going.
No, when you're talking about oh my gosh, D'Angelo when he had his pulled hammy. Paul's been playing with a dislocated shoulder for the past 3 weeks. He went to the doctor and he's got to get surgery on it, but he's not getting it until the end of the summer season.
That doesn't surprise me.
He's the only guy I've ever known to hold off surgery for a rec league.
No, not just one rec league, like 3 or 4 rec leagues during the
They
summertime.
compound. It's compounding interest.
I'm interested to see who plays in net next week. That might change my vote, but I still got to go with Furious 5 in this game over NWA. I think the way Paul is playing, I talked about it back when Furious 5 was playing. I think actually Run DMC, the rematch, that I thought Furious 5 was a championship team. Tim is back in net. I thought he might be a little hurt, being the fact that he just had surgery, but he looked great. So defensively they're there, goaltending they're there, and Paul is going to be Paul and score as many goals as he can. So
I'll say that his positioning was surgical.
his positioning was surgical. So I got Furious 5 over NWA in this game.
You know, I maybe I'm wrong about NWA being less consistent because I don't have a lot of stats to back it up, but I feel like they're less consistent. And we're also talking about another team that's been really inconsistent during the season. That's Furious 5. All right, so maybe every team except for whatever. So Furious 5.
Was Wu-Tang consistent?
No.
Consistently mad at each other.
Yeah. We were the most consistently angry team in the league at each other.
Consistent at shutting down Strachan.
Yes, we were very consistent.
Number 1.
All right, I'm gonna fight you next year. So
Are you gonna let me win?
no. But Furious 5 was one of the worst teams in the season in terms of attendance. I mean, with Tim Scott missing a couple of games, Gaffey missing a bunch of games at the beginning of the season, like they were.
Gaffey played this season?
Yeah, Gaffey's in the league still.
They did pack the stands though.
They did. Every week they have the game of the week. It feels like. But you know, so to me, this is a hard game to pick because you don't know who's in net. You don't know what NWA team you're getting. You know, we still, I don't think, know who Furious 5 even is because they're still starting to gel and be together as a team, as a full team. But that team has won 6 of their last 8, including last week.
Do we talk about the Heat though?
We haven't talked about the Heat. We probably should have in the 7:30 game because it'll be a bigger factor in the 7:30 game than the 8:30 game. But I think our weatherman said it's going to be 80 degrees.
80 degrees in that game.
Forecast calls for high content.
But Tim wears all those pads coming into it. I mean,
yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen Tim get.
And then he's got his goalie equipment.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him in the spring. This is my first season, playing. I just feel like the more pads you wear, I've never been a goalie, so it's gotta suck.
It does.
So I mean, the 7:30 game that might be a factor for Kenton because he is
Of course.
the only goalie I know of to actually have to leave.
I heard that powdered sugar has cooling properties.
Freaking powdered sugar. He's gonna have a cake in his glove.
I would eat the shit out of glove cake. If it's anything like Newberry's balls,
There's no way.
which I guess are recently shorn.
It's not as funny when you have to explain it, but either way. Speaking of Newberry, though, so that was the last note I had on this game between Furious 5 and NWA. We talked about how much Zach flipped Jesse's stick up into the air. and we've talked a lot about how Newberry likes to emulate Zach.
Sure.
And
Good guy to
Paul hates the stick flip too. Like he really at least I think when I watch him, it just seems to just bother him. Like gets under
It's
his
not the
skin.
guy you want to piss off, though.
No, he's not. Believe me, I've done it, and it doesn't work out well for you.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Newberry, if he can shut down Paul,
That's it.
that's a big change. Like that, I mean, he can take your number one guy and he can be a difference.
Yeah, but we might put him in that too.
He might. Either way, all that to say, maybe just
There's gonna be 4 goalies on the floor.
I'm picking Furious 5. If you look at the last half of the season, they're just playing better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, winning 6 of your 8 compared to losing 3 of your 4. I'm going with the momentum. I'm going with how you're playing at the end of the season. I'm going Furious 5.
Alright, I'll go next, I guess. So I'm going to destroy the goalie controversy. Bose is playing. I don't see how there's any way you guys don't go back to him. He had an awesome game.
Conklin still shrugging over here with a smirk.
Yeah,
on
I
his
mean,
face. Which might mean
maybe
he
Gianni
has-
plays.
Maybe
Maybe
Gianni
Gianni.
had a great season. Bose had an awesome game. I would go back to him. So I'm picking this based
Wait,
off
so
the fact
you're
that-
saying that Conkl's actually going to make the right decision?
All right, well maybe I'll have to switch that.
Well, captain of the year here is Tony, so you should probably listen.
I would go with Bose. That's my choice, but I still don't think that's enough. I think when I sub for 3 years 5, maybe they won't like this comparison, but I think they played a lot like my team plays. Paul is just a shutdown defender. They clear out rebounds. When I played for them, I didn't really have it almost felt like I was playing for my own team. And if you guys will remember, back when we played NWA, they only scored 4 goals in us. So maybe if they can,
Transitive property.
I
yeah.
think we were down a guy, weren't we?
No, you guys had everyone.
Okay.
Damn.
Okay.
But they were there.
Dang.
Physically.
But I mean, Paul, Jesse had a great game. Gaffey is going to be Gaffey. I mean, Brad's going to be Brad. I think Tim has another solid game, and I just think Furious 5 wins this.
Yeah, Conklin, you had a full team in week 7 when you played a Tribe Called Quest and lost 4-8.
Dang.
Okay.
Kevin?
Okay. I don't know. This is a toss-up game. I mean, it's really close. I mean, you guys won without Sturgis, which is really impressive. You know.
We didn't talk about that enough in terms of how impressive that win was.
Yeah, and
Should,
everybody who's been in this league for a while knows Mike can score. You know,
Which one?
Sturgis,
All of them.
both. I'm talking about Sturgis right now. He can score when he wants to. I mean, he's a solid player. Has a good long ball. Has a good long shot. I mean, I'm on the fence about this one. I mean,
Just close your eyes and pick.
well, in that case,
Do it. Pick him.
flip a coin.
Pick him. Pick him,
Do
Kevin.
it. Do it, Kevin.
Do it.
I have in my notes Furious 5 over NWA.
Do it. Okay. Okay.
Conco's daring me.
Alright.
I think Tim Scott is going to shut down Mike Bryant's slap shot. He's going to shut down Sturgis. Going to shut down the NWA there. And the way that the Furious 5 played last week, they played really, really well as a team, I thought, and I think they're going to carry that momentum into this week.
Jerber, have you picked yet?
No, I have not.
How about you go?
See, I'm debating as to whether or not I want to go with the motivation pick, or if I really care about my picks this week or not.
Jeremy, let me play a little spoiler for you. There's no way you can even come in second to last place if you get all of your games right and everyone gets all of their games wrong.
Right where I want to be.
Right where you
Right
are.
where I want to be. Yeah, I'm gonna go because I obviously don't give a shit about my picks. I'm going NWA.
Woo!
So does that mean he's actually picking against you?
Feels hollow.
No. I feel like Furious 5 had a great game last week, but that was last week. And it's talking about consistency. There's been weeks where they haven't had production from other guys. The guys have been there. They've wanted to put up numbers. They've had chances, but for whatever reason, the numbers weren't there in previous weeks. I feel like NWA at least consistently has been putting up numbers across the board. If you go back to those number totals that that stat that I've been putting up past weeks, I feel like Furious 5 has had maybe 2 or 3 weeks where everybody on the team contributed a point, where NWA was at the top end with 7 or 8 weeks where everybody was on the score sheet. I feel like that's a big difference, especially with Tim coming back. He played a great game and he faced some decent shots. However, they beat a hurt Run DMC team. I mean, granted, Paul's playing with a dislocated shoulder, but everybody on
that would constitute as being hurt.
for anybody else. But
I actually
maybe
felt the bone.
But maybe he's like Henry Rowan Gardner,
Yeah.
where the dislocated shoulder gives him a quicker release.
Good reference.
Little
But,
rookie here for you.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, there was a beat up, down a player Run DMC that they beat, and it wasn't like I said. Obviously, it was farther on the scoreboard than it seemed like it was in the game, where I feel like Run DMC just kind of was defeated with 4 or 5 minutes left, and Furious 5 ran away with it there. But it was a close game against like a beat up, down a guy team, and I feel like NWA, they have the tools that they need to pull it out and win. It's just whether or not they do that.
All right, Conco. Before Conco goes, Cannonball Kurt picks NWA, and John Chattergreen picks Furious 5.
Thank you, Kurt. Fuck you, John. Johnny sucks.
I'm out. Conco out.
NWA, you guys hear this? Everybody's picking against us? Well, mostly. We got the majority against us.
It's Polish math.
Yeah. No, if that was Polish math, then, you know, we'd be a shoe-in for all the picks. But you know what? I have total confidence in my team after the way we played last week. And even going back 2 weeks, we're starting to gel. We have a more consistent game plan. I put my dick in somebody's beard.
You threatened it. It didn't actually happen.
Well,
All right, you know what? Move on.
you know, Tim is going to be very tough to score on with our team.
He doesn't have a beard.
But in case you didn't hear that, Jeremy says he does not have a beard.
Tim's going to be very tough, especially with where a lot of our shots come from. But I think that top to bottom, we have a team that no matter who's in net, even if it's Newberry, Sturgis, Mike Bryan even,
That'd be crazy.
Or foes.
or Jamie, he's our utility guy. He can go in there. But no matter who's in net, I think that everybody on this team can contribute. Anybody on this team can score, and anybody on this team can play defense. I think that we match up very well against the Furious 5 and Paul. And
Is he separate?
Pretty
It is now.
It's Paul Paradine and the Furious 5.
He's the Grandmaster Flash.
I know my entire team is pumped up for this game. I'm pumped up for this game.
Yeah.
Sitting here right now doing the podcast. Might be the coffee, but I'm still pumped up. And I can't wait for next week, no matter how hot it is.
So let me make sure I got this right. Pete, myself, Chatterton, Kevin, and Brett all picked Furious 5. Did I get that right?
Fuck you guys.
And then Kurt, Conco, and Jer Bear picked NWA.
You know how I'm good at picking games.
Yeah, so
Yeah, thanks.
So,
Fuck the
interesting
Roots.
stat here. Only once this whole season has Furious 5 been picked by more than half of the people on the podcast. It was week 9, and they beat the Roots. And over half,
didn't?
over half of the
We did.
Sure with me.
Sorry, over half of the podcast
Barely.
picked Furious 5. That was the only time. So now, if you're looking at the regular 6 of Pete, myself, Jeremy, Kurt, Conco, and John, we're still actually split 50-50 in this game between Furious 5 and NWA. But if you look at the whole podcast, including our guests, Furious 5 actually is the second time all season long they were picked by more than half. I don't know if any other team has been like picked less than Furious 5. Well, probably
Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah, okay.
And the Roots.
While we're on the subject of Sugar Hill Gang, I hope you guys all know that I'm going to edit all of this preview out, and it's just going to be a shout out to Sugar Hill Gang. With me playing acoustic guitar, Time of Your Life by Green Day.
I like that. Let me know what I can do to help.
All right, so I think we got both games picked. I think we had a rebuttal or two. What was Pete? You got a rebuttal for us?
Yeah, the first rebuttal, I heard actually a bunch of rumbling last night about
Thunder.
playoff. It was Thunder. About playoff stats and why we don't keep them. You know, Jerbear, being the statistician that you are, I mean, what are your thoughts on why we don't keep stats for playoffs?
Is it an Istanbulian proverb?
No, I mean, it's definitely, like, the tough part about it is a lot of people don't understand the evolution of stats from the beginning of the league and how it happened. We
First they
didn't.
were in the water, and they got little legs.
Yeah,
crawled on the line.
basically, yeah, and they're always wrong. They've always been wrong. Remember that one year that Zach Davis had 99 points and I refused to doctor it and give him an assist
He didn't like the strand.
because of the integrity of the stats? What a dick. But no, I mean, early on in the season, we didn't start keeping stats till the second half of the second season. So like 5 games in of the second season, when I started keeping stats, I was like, we'll see how it goes. And because of a trial run, we didn't keep them that playoff season. And obviously, like when we did end of season awards, it was based on their season performance, not the playoff performance, and we didn't have playoff awards at that point, so it didn't make sense to keep stats. And obviously, you know, at that point, it was me keeping stats for every game outside of the games that I played in.
So it's still.
I mean, pretty much what it is. So, I mean, it's nice to have the break. I wouldn't mind doing it, but it's kind of like we're 13 seasons in at this point, and this is how it's been since the beginning. And obviously, you know, if something's wrong, we'll change it. But change just to change it doesn't really.
Is there a reason? I mean, does anyone at this table have a good reason to change it?
Well, I do. Well, not to change it, but the way it is.
That wasn't the question.
Well, that wasn't the question.
I don't care, but I'm going to give you my
It's a
answer.
Polish answer.
But like, you know, with playoffs, you want to have 2 goal judges that are always watching the net,
Yeah.
not paying attention. And then if you have somebody else not paying attention to the play, but just to the net.
Okay.
So if you have somebody else taking stats, it's going to be a really crowded bench in there.
Well, that happens, but at the same time, normally when I'm taking stats, I'm running the clock, taking stats, and goal judging.
Which is
Boom.
why they're always wrong.
No. So is there anyone at this table that has a valid argument on why we should keep playoffs?
You know, I like stats, and obviously I'm a stat guy. I mean, you know, Pete Skidmore there says I get turned on by numbers, which is
Well, 2 guys.
I think that's both of you.
Yeah.
Come on.
yeah. Well,
From the guy who shot himself.
Shrapnel.
going to. So it
Oh,
might
yes,
be.
Lane, too.
It might be a surprise to hear me say I actually don't mind that we don't keep stats in the playoffs, because at the end of the day, another Peterism, or that's a Bobism actually. I say that a lot.
Yeah, I think that's what you said.
At the end of the day, it's about having fun in the league and winning or losing. And so to me, like, that's what the playoffs just feel more pure to me. And maybe part of that is that we don't keep stats, and I don't care, you know, who's raising their hands, say they had an assist, or who scored the goal, or how many saves you had. It doesn't matter. As a team, you're either successful or you're not. And that's what it all comes down to. And no stats kind of helps make it more pure to me. It's like, okay, you won or you lost, you move on, you go home, and that's it.
What we should do though is like have somebody write down on a piece of paper, just keeping tallies of the score in case something happens with the clock. And like if
Oh,
the
yeah.
power,
That's why we don't like Gaffney.
we should do that just in case.
No, that's a good point, though. That really is a good point. Because when there have been discrepancies in the score throughout the season, and you always go back to the stat sheet as the end all be all. So that might not be a bad idea. Controversial, good idea.
Yeah, look at that. Out of this entire time,
I feel like in the playoffs,
Week
though,
11. He gets that idea.
in the playoffs especially, teams are on that shit, and they're looking at the scoreboard, and they're not going to let it go in a playoff game.
Well, it's hard to see it at the other end when John's standing in front of it the entire time.
Or there's a water bottle. There's always a water bottle
Always a
strategically
freaking water
positioned in front of the home score.
Yeah, so that's my rebuttal for the week.
To end on that note too, I think everybody, and I won't be surprised if Conco adds on this, I think everybody last night asked me, because I had a notepad, if I was taking stats, and I just said no, I was.
He's actually
Drawing
drawing dicks.
According to Conco, I was drawing dicks, just like
I have video or I have photographic evidence.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll post it in the comment section below.
I think that'll get flagged.
Any other rebuttals?
Yes, there was a rebuttal. I'm not going to say who it's from, but he has more melanin than anybody else in the league. So, he commented on some of the preferential treatment that some of the players in the league get. Whereas, like, in a game,
Kobe rules?
basically, like, in a game, normally, if you're just shooting the shit in the lobby and you walk in 4 minutes after the period starts, you're not just going to casually get to walk to your bench. And he feels like that there's been exceptions that are made for certain people where they wouldn't necessarily be made for other people. I don't know if you.
I didn't have any problem with that though. Like,
No,
Yeah,
I think it's a
stick
bad
his hand.
example because I think anyone could have walked in afterwards and
I don't think he meant.
I think it's a bad example, but
I
I think
don't
there
think
are
it's-
Kobe rules.
Well,
I don't think there's Kobe rules.
Again, and I don't think it's necessarily that as much as like that was the example that he made. I feel like other examples would be there's guys that get the schedule changed for them perennially to accommodate the games that they want to make. And I don't want to say that we're going to stop doing that or we shouldn't do that because obviously it's a fun league. You want everybody to be there, especially when they're a bigger part of your game. But even like on the penalty side, where you got guys that are constantly should be penalized, but they're like, oh no, that's just how he plays. That's fine, let it go.
Yeah.
And it gets let go because he doesn't know any better. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like at what point does he doesn't know any better? Like you should be okay. Now you know better,
Yeah.
but
see, I think that gets to the point of penalties overall. And I have been a big component of arguing with refs this year, but I think
Take care of a lot.
for this league, and I guess it's something that's really going to be put on the table is what do you call? I mean, this is a gentleman's league. You know,
I don't see a lot of gentlemen.
right, but you see time and time again. You talk about JJ this past week. He took a penalty. He knows it was a penalty. He starts walking to the bench. If I take a
It's like his
penalty,
first time.
Yeah, but he's also the worst offender of our one of the worst offenders.
Well,
Because I'm looking at the other worst offender.
same thing with me though. But in
Nick
the
Ellis is
playoffs
that
last year, I went over and ran over Brad, and I immediately started walking to the bench. I knew I took a penalty. If you take a penalty and you know you're taking a penalty, 9 out of the 10 guys are going to start walking in the box. It's the ones that are close, and that's the one thing that I don't like. If it's a close call, just let it go. Like that's my feeling on it.
I mean, I feel like the argument against that is that you're saying if you know you're taking a penalty, and this comes into the ignorance is bliss. Like, oh, I can't do that. I didn't know that I couldn't stick my stick there, and then he fell, and that's a penalty. You know, I was trying to play the puck.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
why the clinic's important too.
but yeah, I understand. I mean,
But then we start calling like the smallest stuff, and that's not what I want this league to get about.
No, I agree. I think that the whistles need to be kept in the pockets a little bit more than maybe they sometimes are. But I think the rebuttal is more about preferential treatment, though, and about the Kobe rules. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's the idea that a superstar or some of the better players in the league get less fouls called on them and more fouls called against them. And then Jeremy actually presented an interesting flip side of that, which is maybe people that just play a certain style get more leniency. And I'll just call a couple guys out, like Kurt, slashes the hell out of
a
people.
Brad.
Or Brad, it's a couple of people. It's not just one guy. Even me, I can be called for holding and interference a lot. But it's the style you play, and is that fair if they're truly penalties? So they're hand in hand. If you're gonna keep the whistle in your pocket, then nothing's getting called.
I think that we do have to look at certain plays, like the over the head tomahawk smash down. I mean, you see it by a bunch of the big guys in the league. I do think that certain things like that needs to be pointed out, and I think that's why a ref clinic would be good. I'm just nervous that we're going to start calling all of this small crap that I don't want to see, because that's just going to get annoying, and I don't want games to come down to a ref calling a freaking penalty.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe we need to revise the rules too. Maybe not just a ref clinic, but maybe we focus on rules that surround around safety. Instead of just the holding, tripping, whatever. I'm not saying tripping is not safe, but it's okay. You know what? Tripping happens. It happens a lot. I don't mind them not getting called unless it's egregious and intentional.
Sure.
Slashing drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I hate it when guys get slashed. If it's on the stick and it's not even a safety thing, it's still a dirty play to me. If it's on the legs and you're making a play on the
Even
puck,
the
you still hit the
goalies. I mean,
legs.
guys are trying to hit the last puck in. I mean, how many times has that
I
happened
think
to you guys?
slashing needs to get called a lot more often than it is on everyone.
Mhm.
But maybe we take some of those rules out and say, all right, we're not going to call tripping anymore unless it was really more of a slash, you're actually going at his legs.
The other thing that's tough is when you go at the discretion of the referees, and a lot of refs are like, oh, they're both going at it, I'm not going to call it. A lot of guys that play a certain style of hockey bring that out of another guy. So a lot of guys are playing that way because that's who they're playing against. And okay, we're both going at it, but it's because of, I'm just matching the intensity or the style of hockey that somebody else plays. And that's where it kind of gets all right, there's that gray area
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I feel like once you get branded in this league as a physical guy, you can get away with a lot more.
Yeah,
excuse me?
I think
Hey, you
Ian
can't even look at my team.
Ian has that reputation.
All right,
Yeah, no, but he gets more penalties called against him than anyone.
but let me
he
go
does, yeah.
along with that. I think Congo's right. If you get branded as a physical guy, you can get away with a lot. If you get branded as someone who argues and or flops and or gets under other people's skin, you get more penalties called against.
Right.
So it's a fine line. Like Kurt doesn't get hardly any penalties called against him compared to other guys. I don't get that many penalties called against me, even though I probably could. Shane doesn't get any penalties called against him, and he probably should get a bunch.
Yeah.
But then you look at guys like Ian or Brad, they probably get more than they deserve. And going back to Kurt, in seasons past, he's got a lot more called against him than this season. Because you get branded. So it's branding not of physical, it's a branding of kind of annoying and maybe even dirty, although I'm not calling these guys dirty, I'm just saying like it's kind of that feel. You have a dirtier feel than the other guys that are just, well, that's just Kurt being Kurt. That's just, you know,
I like the way Tim does it though. Tim always gives a warning. Like if he starts seeing a couple players on the floor.
I like the warning.
Yeah, when he sees a couple things happening on the floor, I mean, he even said it to me when there was a couple times that I was close on a high stake. He's like, hey, listen, just to let you know, the next time I see a high stake, I'm going to call it. You've been close, borderline, but if it keeps being that way, I'm going to call you on it. So it's warning. I mean, Tim will be great at the ref clinic. I mean,
And you guys are doing intermissions too, which is good.
And
You know?
I think we could stand to use a clear definition of what is interference and what isn't interference, because I feel like there's a lot of gray area there as
But
well.
before we get there, I think as a leadership team or as a league, we should get together and just make a decision. Do we want to be real strict, like ice, or can we be more lenient and just make sure we're protecting player safety?
Well, if we're stricter
goalies.
too, it kind of opens up play a lot more as well.
We
Because
don't
guys,
need more scoring in this league.
well, I'm just saying, guys aren't going to be able to get away with stuff like, the little holds here and there or things like that.
Yeah.
And there's also, I'm just saying.
I mean, the other issue though is they're getting away with a lot more egregious penalties as well.
Yeah, that's true. And the other side that we haven't talked about at all is I do think there are Kobe rules and there's the superstar side.
Yeah.
It's like Paul has a high stick a lot that doesn't get
Yeah,
called.
and the slap shots. G on the other hand.
Johnny gets called all the time.
We got called a lot in that.
Baldwin
last night.
got called a bunch.
Yeah, but
and he was
Paul,
furious over that.
and Zach has had some high sticks that he hasn't gotten called on.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of preferential treatment.
Or Joe batting it out of the air where it's questionable.
Yeah, Joe bats out of the air and he doesn't get called probably, but Jesse bats out of the air and he will get called.
Well, that's because everybody's looking at Joe's hair.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That's fine.
So I think there's a little bit of that, and we need to probably tighten that up too. But then again, they're called the Kobe rules, and that happens at one of the highest levels of sport for a reason, because
And we are the highest level of the sport.
yes, yeah, I mean with the Siete, and maybe even the Safes is going to grab us pretty soon. Other rebuttals?
I'd like to piggyback kind of off of what Peter was saying. So, last week during our game, it got kind of physical, and I know I was upset about some of the stuff that wasn't being called. And I will admit, probably back and forth, both teams are doing it. And even in between intermission, I heard the refs talking. They said, well, they're both doing it, so we're not going to call it. And I think all of it comes down to safety. Safety needs to be first and foremost. We've had people get seriously injured in the league, so safety needs to be the top priority. And I'd rather, even if it's going to slow things down, I'd rather have, and I'm not saying it's intentional, but people that are doing things that are unsafe, you need to call it. Like, we need to curb that kind of.
So maybe it's more double minors.
But that's
I would just think more consistently.
It's an interesting point, though. They might not even be meaning to do it, and I think that needs to be emphasized.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anyone's really all that intentional.
No, I don't think anyone in this league is
intentional.
consistently trying to hurt someone.
No.
But
But
across
you're
the
not
board,
gonna change
it
your
needs to be-
behavior.
Yeah.
You're never gonna change your behavior. You're never gonna that's just Bob being Bob. That's never gonna stop until you give me motivation. to
If
stop.
Kurt is sliding across the floor and taking out tons of people, and then he gets called 3 or 4 times a game, anyone, that behavior is going to be
Yeah,
changed.
it's
Like
gonna-
you're hurting your team by being down, and no one's going to be like, well, I'll just keep taking penalties. Well, most of it.
Yeah, probably. All right. Any other rebuttals or thoughts? All right, Pitar, I think you said you had a question for us.
Yeah, I did. I found this one online. I hope everyone likes it. So if you could wake up tomorrow
I can't.
in the body of someone else in this league,
Yes.
who would you pick and what would you do? Who would you pick and what would you do? And it's got to be part of this season.
There's no way this is gonna stay.
Well, let's get
I'll go first.
Conco out of the way so we can pick Joe and we'll be done.
I kind of want to say Conco to the end because I'm excited for his answer.
He's going to pick Joe, so.
All right, get it out of the way. Get it out of the way. Is it? Conco, who is it?
Who do you think it is?
Joe.
So here's
Ian.
what happens. Here's what happens. I thought this all out on the car right before I even heard the question.
Who do I want to be tomorrow?
See, it's gonna be Joe.
I feel like if Conco had the chance, though, he would wear Joe's skin. Like Buffalo Bill.
It's gonna happen next
No,
week.
just
It's
like
gonna happen next week.
Just gonna scalp him.
And I would
Yeah.
just run my fingers through that hair.
A little
And then
face
all of a
off
sudden,
action.
I hear, whoa, somebody else waking up, and there's Zach Davis.
Oh my god.
So that's your day? That's what you would do? You just
That's-
run your fingers through your hair
That's not
and
my
then Zach
morning.
wakes up next to you?
That's not my morning. That's my day.
Oh my god.
Wow. Okay. That's
And Gianni just sitting over there in the corner like, man.
Nice.
There's no way that answer could have been the most inappropriate
Good answer.
out of the way.
Good
right off the
answer.
bat. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I mean, I think I'd go as Zach Davis. I mean, to see the way he sees the floor and everything, I think would just be.
Tomorrow's Friday.
It's on Wednesday or just a normal
Yeah, that's a
day?
good point. That was talking. It was like
Tomorrow's Friday.
better go to work.
Oh yeah, I'm saying on Wednesday, but to see the way that he sees the floor and that he sees, the way the game's going and everything, I think would be crazily beneficial for me, and like to see how he sees everything that's going on and sees everything that happens. I think he has probably the best vision out of anyone in the league. So I think that's who I'd go
Yeah, he's got the best vision and he's cross-eyed too.
I'm gonna pick
better.
Dan Gladding. Because I would immediately wake up in ice whenever is hurting. I'm like,
Oh
come
my
on,
God.
man. You gotta take better care of yourself.
I thought you'd wake up in a tub of ice with a kidney missing.
No, I love Dan. I think he just sacrificed his body. He's in great shape. I mean, he's a little bit older than I am. He's a little older in terms of the league overall, and he just I think he's in great shape, and he runs marathons and stuff. And I definitely would start popping pills as soon as I woke up, though, because that's gotta hurt.
Jeez.
Rep.
Alright, so I apologize in advance if I misremember this, but I feel like I heard Mike Fulano I think it was last season, say that he was a lawyer.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so I got that right.
Never guessed that.
I feel like that would be cool. Just wake up, be Mike Fulano, be super nice to everyone.
Low uppercase.
Apologize
Get
to
some
everyone.
routine.
Yeah, get some poutine.
I'm sorry,
Go
Mike, I
to-
did
go
that.
to
Sorry.
court.
Sorry. Let me win.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm really sorry I won that case. I think it'd be fun.
Jared.
I'm gonna go Austin Bowl.
Oh my god.
So I didn't finish high school.
14.
I dropped out, and I always want to know what it would be like to go back and finish high school. So I'm going as Austin Bowl.
That's what I was gonna pick. So great answer. I'm gonna go with it might be a controversial pick right now, but I'm actually gonna pick Kyle Antilla.
Said I could fight you.
The reason I'm picking Kyle is because I want to know what's going on in his head. Like every
much
day
to
of his
be
life,
honest.
there's so much going on that I just want to know. I just want to know, and plus he runs a lot, so I want to know what it's like to run.
I'm down John Strack.
I'm down, yeah, just running through the woods looking for John Strack.
Yeah, I did try to help you guys. I told him before the game started, like, Strachan's already in the next round, Kyle.
And yeah, so that's my pick, and I think that's it for the answers.
Wait, I got one seriously.
Wait.
This is my serious answer. So I would wake up.
I got another play of the week.
I would wake up and show him part two.
I would wake up yesterday. Or no, I would wake up today.
That's not
I would wake up today as Gianni. Okay? Then I would come here. I would do the podcast as Gianni, and I would answer this question that I would rather wake up and be me. Because I suck so bad.
This is like body
That's
switching.
exception.
Yeah.
That's exception.
That was an M. Night Shyamalan twist. but like an M. Night Shyamalan village twist, and not like an M. Night Shyamalan science twist.
Yeah, not quite as good. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to the playoffs round 2 Review edition. Big thanks to Brett and Kevin for joining us as our guests. Hopefully you like the avatar here of the two of these guys.
I actually have a quick plug on Tuesday night if no one's doing anything. Come
Wait,
down.
it's not like Jeremy's
that's
plug from
next.
before?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
Jeremy's got that. But
He's gonna wait till I say, is it Wednesday? Yeah.
quick plug, we have a bunch of guys playing down at MCC. So make sure you come out. We got the championship game on Tuesday night at 7:30.
Yeah, it's the All-Stars from the Rochester Floor Hockey League all together as one team.
Yeah, me, Paul,
That's like
Zach.
the Winter Classic.
Pretty much. We got Bill in that. A great team. Come on out. Watch us go for the championship. on
What
Tuesday night.
time and where is it?
7:30 down at the MCC Arena. This is floor hockey.
Bill Grace.
Bill Grace.
Bill Grace.
I can't go. I'm already going June 10th.
Speaking of which, June 10th, we got the Lakeshore Hockey Arena rented out. We have the ice and the sport court. Open bar, food provided, $30. Starts at 7. Last time we were there till midnight, and we just decided to leave. They didn't even kick us out yet.
And I
Great
brought my
time.
ass playing.
And it's a blast.
And
Um,
got his cut.
Dang,
Oh,
Dang cut
that's
his
right.
toe.
Dang got his,
You
Dang
don't.
was playing in flip-flops
Yeah.
with guys in skates.
Yeah, and that's another thing is you don't even need skates. They open up the rental room for us, so you can grab a pair of skates and get on the ice. Or, like I said, we have the sports court as well if you're not feeling as adventurous. With that being said, is it June 10th yet?
Is it June 10th?
What is it?
I didn't even understand your question. I thought you said whose skin would you want to feel?